Hey, we're Blenderstyle, and we'll make our escape before we start to vaporize. On this episode, Broken Bells, their self-titled debut album, released in 2010. Cheers, fellers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
You mean we're going to vaporize? Is this something I got to be concerned about?
Only if you're concerned about vapors. I came across Broken Bells at a pool hall in Santa Maria one weekend. Brandon, our buddy Brandon, was we were kind of just playing pool with everybody, and Brandon's like, "Have you heard Broken Bells? It's a new band by the guys from Danger Mouse, or James Mercer and Danger Mouse." I was like, "Oh, sweet! Both those bands suck. It'll probably be horrible." And he played High Road and Ghost Inside.
Okay, good choices
on the jukebox, and I was hooked.
Those are great songs on this album.
And yeah, and so I didn't want to tell him that I liked it at the time, but it became like one of my staples of the mid 2000s.
So you don't like the Shins?
I've never listened to them. It's just one of the bands, and I hated the bands back in the day.
I heard Broken Bells like once. Like the one song is like all I'm really familiar with. Never got into the
Probably
Shins.
from me.
Maybe.
The High Road was, I don't know, it was on radio. The radio, it was pushed a little and played, you know.
But I hadn't.
It was a decent scene.
I hadn't listened to this. I hadn't listened to the Shins. I don't listen to Danger Mouse.
I've never listened to the Shins or Danger
I've since
Mouse.
listened to all of those.
I did see Danger Mouse. I was going to see Danger Mouse live in New Orleans one year, but we got rained out, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, mice don't like rain, apparently.
Especially when they're in danger.
Exactly.
So me and Heidi saw the Shins not too long ago. I want to say it about it. When she was pregnant with Rex, our son.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her first time seeing them, and they were really good. They were awesome and played great songs. So, but I've seen the first time I heard of them was at a festival called ATP, All Tomorrow's Parties, and I believe it was the last festival that took place here in America. I think it still kind of goes on in Europe and stuff.
Oh, really?
But they picked somebody to curate it, and anyways, they had Isaac Brock, the lead singer of Modest Mouse, and he picked all the bands,
Oh, okay.
I saw the Flaming Lips.
I saw the Flaming Lips. That's awesome.
Lou Reed.
You like Lou Reed a lot.
I saw the Walkman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna review that.
We should review them one of these days.
Yeah. But anyways, that
sounds like a good show.
I've always liked the Shins, actually.
See, I don't think I've ever listened to any of their stuff. They always got jumbled into the band craze of the early 2000s.
Indie rock bands.
Well, I know
the Hives, the Shins, the Vines, the
I don't remember them.
I'm not for me. I like some indie rock like that, but the Shins was too light.
Yeah, see, I couldn't tell you, but so Brandon played these songs, and I didn't want to admit that I liked them, but then when their next album came out, I immediately texted Brandon. I was like, "Hey, did you hear Broken Bells has a new album?" He's like, "Oh no, I haven't." I was like, "In your face!"
Discovered it before you did.
Yeah. And I've just kind of been a fan ever since. So awesome. I kind of want to see where you guys.
So is this a duo, like a super group duo?
Yeah.
With the two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Danger Mouse is mainly known, I believe, for being like a producer, though, right?
Yeah.
And he was in Gnarls Barkley too.
Yeah.
Which of all these bands we've mentioned so far, I think Gnarls Barkley is like the coolest.
Oh, okay.
But I definitely like the project that he did, Dark Night of the Soul. And he did it with another artist I was really into, Mark Linkous from Sparkle Horse.
Okay.
Sparkle Horse?
Yeah. So I like that. And, but I'm not a big Danger Mouse fan.
Yeah,
I'm
with
a more
you.
Shins fan. And I don't know. I was conflicted when I first heard this.
Okay. So this album is 10 tracks, 37 minutes, not overly long.
No.
It has a kind of a mellow vibe throughout the whole thing.
Very.
But the lyrics are very dark.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that earlier too.
Yeah, so there's I didn't understand, so I always just kind of never looked into the lyrics on this, and when we decided to review it, I kind of started digging into them. There's some dark themes going on here, just of greed and money, and yeah, it's really kind of weird. I never never put two and two together, and then I started listening to it. It just made me like it that much more. I was kind of amazed by it.
Mm-hmm.
So were you just hooked on those like first couple songs, and then get into this? You had to like read the lyrics to kind of appreciate the whole thing?
So I got hooked on the first two songs. They kind of earwormed. We were playing pool, and they just kind of in the background. I didn't really pay much attention to them, but then I caught myself like later on with sound like humming along to something, and I text Brian. I was like, "Hey, what was that song you were playing at the pool hall? Because like I think it's stuck in my head."
Mm-hmm.
And he texted to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I listened to it, and then I just kind of like, I have a thing where if I listen to a song, I'll usually just let the whole album play after that because I'm too lazy to change it.
That's a good habit.
Yeah, and so I listened to the album, and I was like, "Oh, there's a couple really good tracks on here," but for the most part, it kind of drug. It was like kind of draggy and like out there, and you kind of have to be in a mood to listen to it.
Yes, I agree with.
But I think the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, oh, okay, because I like how they have kind of like this upbeat tempo with a lot of stuff. But then like after reading into the lyrics and like these really dark themes with this upbeat kind of tempo, it's kind of cool.
I think there's definitely a lot of like layering and experimentation that goes on with this. I like some of the like keyboard sounds that sound like they're off some shitty keyboard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like there's like some experimentation and them like really working with each other back and forth, you know what I mean?
They are.
And
Yeah.
I have to say I actually enjoyed this more than I thought I did.
So on Vaporize, they use this compression on the drum parts where like it was a
Yes.
and it sounds horrible, but at the same time it sounds so cool the way that they just envelop the whole sound in this like compression. It's like clips and compresses down, and it sounds like shit, but at the same time it sounds so cool.
So I've noticed this, and then also I have to mention that on Citizen, I think it's a great track because it's also cool and a little different because there's effects on the vocals instead of the instruments.
Exactly.
And the instruments are usually through this kind of distorted, looped, weird, different. And the vocals are kind of like left alone. I mean, there's some stuff on there, but... And then all of a sudden it's kind of switched. And it's like towards the end kind of the record, you know? I don't know. I just like that there's little fun things, and you can tell that this is very collaborative.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think it's kind of fun, but...
Citizen sounds like a lullaby to me, and it's really wants to put me to sleep. But it does sound good. This album has lots of cool sounds to it.
Yeah, I mean, for being how simplistic it is, it's cool that I think it's Danger Mouse, because I've seen them live on videos and stuff, and I think he plays actual drums through it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that they've actually used the Shins drummer also live.
Okay.
And I think...
The drums are cool.
Yeah, and the drum tone is pretty good on it. I mean, there's nothing like spectacular there, but just the fact that like these beats kind of keep a constant pace.
Yeah.
And the drum sound and the tone is really good throughout it.
It's a vibe, kind of, for sure.
I kind of like Nathan said, I like these weird little nuances they add in there that don't necessarily go with what they're doing at the time, and then they throw something in there that's kind of like off time or off kilter.
It's interesting.
And it kind of like piques your ear.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why for so long, like this album was to me a musical album, and then it wasn't until just like the last couple weeks I really started getting into the lyrical themes and stuff, and I was like, oh, it's like a complete album now. Like I never paid attention to the lyrics and stuff, and so I just thought, it's that kind of techno-y trance style thing going on. They're not really singing about anything.
Space pop.
Yeah,
indie
they're
rock.
not really singing about anything relevant. And
Scotch whiskey and
and then to like go in and read about the lyrics and like it's cool, but at the same time it's one of those things where you really have to like kind of read between the lines on the thematic themes of this.
Dude, this is Steely Dan all over it.
Except for I feel like Steely Dan,
that you like.
but I feel like Steely Dan was straightforward with their tongue in cheek in their stuff. I feel like this is like one of those things where you kind of have to read in between. Like there's a line in I think it's in The High Road where they talk about the sailors falling out. He curled his lips on the barrel, and I didn't recognize it at the time. But the fact that they use something that's supposed to portray like love, like your lips are supposed to portray beauty and like gentle, and then they're curling their lips on the barrel of the gun to blow their brains out or whatever.
So have you not really listened to the Shins at all, though?
No, I haven't.
I think you should.
Okay.
I think you definitely should. He's a great lyricist.
Well,
and I can see you kind of like.
And like I said, I never got into the Shins just because I was super against all the bands from like that time frame. I think the Hives and the Vines ruined everything for me. And so I just kind of grouped everything that started with
whole genre.
That started with
like no grudge.
Yeah.
What's funny is like I'm like now that you've like listened to this obviously numerous times, like would you even relate this band with the Shins?
No, well, I don't know that I would.
The Strokes, the Vines.
No, this band I wouldn't.
No,
but yeah, but because
some
it's
41s.
Now if it was called the Broken Bells,
no,
that's an inside Sum 41 joke.
The Sums, yeah. If they were called the Broken Bells, I probably would have never given them a chance.
That's why you hate the Smashing Pumpkins?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is this not too chill for you guys? This is like really chill and vibey. Like when you get into it, it's good, but it's hard for me to get into it.
It's super vibey. I get where you're coming from, and it is chill. Like one of my notes on this is that like the second half of this album, even though it's only 37 minutes long, it feels like almost an hour long. And especially since once you get to like the second half, because I feel like the best songs on this
or the first half
are like the first half, and then you got like standouts like Citizen is cool, but like you said, it's very lullaby. It's
but
kind of
October's okay.
Yeah, and then the last track, The Mall of Misery, it's kind of slower.
It just drags. I just don't get music that's this chill unless you're really listening to the lyrics.
Yeah, I literally like 5 songs off this 10-song album.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Unless you like absolutely hate the other 5, you know.
I like every song in this, but yeah, I would say like there's 5 that are standouts for me for sure.
I like 3 songs.
Okay.
What would you rate it?
I give it a 3.4 out of 5.
Okay.
Nice.
I have to be in the mood for this, but it is pretty fucking good.
I feel like that's actually a little higher than what I thought you were
going to. Yeah, I figured for sure Matt was going to be like 2.1.
I do like The High Road. I'm very familiar with that song. I've listened to it a bunch. And then The Ghost Inside and Trapdoors were both standouts for me. And then the rest of it's kind of weak. But, you know, it's not very fun. Like usually albums that are just like okay, like good, at least they're fun. This one's like more of a chill thing.
This is something you listen to when you're feeling like you're having a really shitty day.
No, you listen to fucking Pig Destroyer or Phantom Limb.
This is what you listen to when you feel like your day's going too good.
Right? Like something's gonna go bad. I better listen to
like this is definitely the Flaming Lips, the Beatles. Taking acid together underwater.
Those bands are way more interesting than this. There's like
I just feel vibes off it. I'm not saying that you should hold this up to it. That's not what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
I just think it's a like I'm not.
Flaming Lips is a mushroom trip. This is more of like a rave.
This is an LSD trip.
But everyone's like smoking weed, not doing acid. So they're just like sitting around in beanbag chairs while there's...
So the first time you listened to this,
they're just drinking tea.
Were you at the rating you're at now, or was that something that kind of built on you as it went?
No, I think it kind of grew on me.
So you might listen to it for another 10 years like Nathan and I have and be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's possible, especially if I start reading the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's good. Nathan, what do you rate it?
I think in time it's actually decreased for me. I give it a 3.6.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, but maybe he might, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that, like I said, I like half this record. I think there's like kind of like a lot of filler. And maybe the next record, I didn't listen to anything after this.
Their next album's pretty good, too.
Is it just the 2?
No, they have 3.
I
wonder if it's pretty good, like, because I feel like there's, like I said, maybe they were filling each other out. Maybe it gets better.
Well, I feel like the next album's a little bit more up-tempo compared to this one. I get with you. I feel like there's I
like being dark, though, too. Though.
Yeah, like, I feel like there's a lot of darkness in this, but at the same time, I also feel like there's a lot of filler, like you said, where they're trying to fill each other's style out. And there's some songs that are really good collaborations between the two of them where it kind of like weaves in and out of each other's style, and then there's songs that are strictly one style or strictly the other style.
Yeah.
And they're very decisive, and you could tell like, hey, this was more on this side or this was more on this side.
I just don't want, I guess this is what I want to say real quick.
Yeah.
Is that I don't want James Mercer to actually, for people to be like, oh, this is just like, sounds like the Shins. I think he has a strong voice. His lyrics are great and everything like that. But this is definitely different than the Shins.
Okay.
And I think that you should, take that into consideration and just don't
lump it into the same
just don't
category.
lump it into something and give it a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like this way better than the Shins. I thought the Shins was pretty bad. This is better than that.
Do you like this better than Danger Mouse?
Yeah.
I've never listened to Danger Mouse.
It's like hip hop. You know what's funny?
So you're saying you like? I think Gnarls Barkley is better than this.
Oh, I would agree. I would go Gnarls Barkley, Broken Bells, the Shins.
My thing is he's a producer, right?
Yeah.
And like albums that he's produced of bands I don't like those albums for some reason. They have a sound. And like, you know, I'm sure he's still doing well. But I mean, back in this time, a lot of people were using them, and I really did love the Mark Linkous project that he did. David Lynch actually took photos that went along with the album and stuff. And I actually went on their little tour and met Danger Mouse, David Lynch, and Mark Linkous.
That's cool.
And you should definitely give that project a listen, and that's Dark Night of the Soul.
You met David Lynch, really?
Yeah.
That's fucking tight.
Yeah.
You're a big David Lynch fan.
I am.
He actually hated David Lynch until he met him, and then he's like, "You're my favorite."
Casey, your pick, Broken Bells, self-titled.
I give it a 4.3. I think it's a great album. I think I was probably where Nathan's at, 3.6. It kind of it's always been kind of built up to a point and then stayed there. And then once I started reading into the lyrics, it got even better for me. So yeah, 4.3. Love the dark theme. I love the use of taboo kind of things, like adding all this extra compression to where the distortion and the album sounds like it's getting muddied, but at the same time it works really well.
It's a headphone listen.
Oh, for sure.
Listen to on some good headphones.
Yeah, there's some good nuances and stuff on this.
It sounds great on headphones.
Yeah, it's a great album. And I'm with Nathan. I've never listened to the Shins, and I've listened to very little Danger Mouse, so maybe I'll check them out and see what's up.
For sure.
See what's what. This is Blenderstyle. That was Broken Bells, self-titled. If you got something you want us to check out, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Tell Nathan his hair looks good.
It doesn't. I fucked up.